I mean, I restarted my runs for a reason. I didn't even finish through because I did not want to see him die at all. And it just goes to show how much the game made me grow attached to him. Hi, welcome to the podcast. I'm Nicole, your player one.
And I'm Joycelyn, your player 2.
Today, Indie House, we've got Signal by Oddly Shaped Pixels. It's a mystery adventure game.
A short premise of the game is an isolated scientific outpost, a team gone missing, a race against the clock to save the sole survivor. And it's name your own price, and it's available on Itch.io for Mac and Windows. It took me 30 minutes to play, and it's pretty easy since it's just clicking and reading the text that shows up on the screen.
I took the same amount of time, but this was in my final playthrough after having restarted the game twice. I actually found it, I'd say, somewhat difficult. Not in terms of controls, but in terms of being able to strategize and play through the game for the ending that I wanted. Much of the game's action is text-based, and you're told what you're encountering as you play. It's kind of like a choose-your-own-adventure story, and most of the time what you're seeing is just the map. You don't get to see your character interact with anything, you don't even get to see Amelia at all, and that could actually make the gameplay kinda dull. As Joycelyn said, it was actually pretty easy to play through, but if the story engages you, then you don't really have to worry about that as much. Even though everything looks the same, honestly, I actually wasn't bored. I actually got pretty stressed playing the game because I really wanted to keep Trey alive.
I think I felt kind of the same. I was kind of stressed, but I also was kind of the lack of being able to see Amelia or any of the other characters like Trey, actually see the character, kind of made me bored. But I was also really stressed about keeping him alive, so I didn't really get to know much of the story at all, because I saved him on my first playthrough and then I didn't play it again. So I didn't really learn much about the story. Of course, you learn a little bit while you're keeping him alive, just because you have to. But I prioritized keeping him alive, so I didn't really get to know that much.
Yeah, in my playthroughs, I found that in the first two playthroughs where I was trying to explore the story, that was sacrificing the time that I could have used to help Trey live. And I feel like that this game probably has multiple endings and high replayability for that reason, so that you could both explore the story but also accomplish the goal that you want. And it does really try to keep you on that goal as you play, because in the top left you see different timers. You see a timer for when you're going to be getting picked up by a rescue chopper, as well as the timer for how long Trey has left to live, which was a huge anxiety-inducing factor for me. The game honestly requires really good strategy and time management, which is why it was challenging.
Yeah, I agree. Also, I think, as far as I know, there's at least 3 different endings that you can get. Of course, I only experienced one of them. I don't know how many you saw, but it does have high replayability because of the story and also the timers, since you can only do so much in each playthrough. There's a lot that you can go back and find out if you play the game again.
Exactly. What were your thoughts on the visuals of the game?
I really enjoyed the visuals. I liked the map. I just also wish I could have seen the characters and stuff, other than the little picture when they were talking. But they were really, really good, and it was it was really pretty. I liked the colors. The color scheme of the game was nice. It was some of my favorite colors.
I agree. I found the vibe to be somewhat similar to Firewatch, which is why I really like the environment, because it's entirely biased, but Firewatch is one of my all-time favorite games. With the high saturation, all the colors and the nature, and also the base looks in pretty good condition, it's very beautiful in the daytime. And then when it gets to nighttime though, the tone actually totally shifts because the entire map is just completely shrouded in darkness. So the base that was once pretty peaceful looking actually turns incredibly creepy without it even needing to be initially creepy from the get-go. To be honest, despite this, I still thought that the visuals through most of the game were kind of easy to ignore just because it was the same thing that you're looking at. So as I was playing, I eventually, like 10 minutes in, I just started ignoring what I was seeing when it came to the map and was solely focused on all the text in the story. And I honestly think that more probably could have been done with the visuals, because in the story, there are some really impactful scenes that would have been really cool to actually look at.
What did you think about the sound?
I thought the sounds added a pretty chill vibe, at least during the daytime, because most of what you're hearing is just like wind and nature sounds. But there is also music. I noticed music at a building. That, on the other hand, is actually the creepy and unnerving element that I also felt when it came to the sound. And it really added to the mystery and the kind of sense of anxiety I felt as I played the game.
I agree, actually, yeah. I liked also the voice acting, even though there wasn't voice acting for like every line, because there's a lot of text. There was really good voice acting for the characters. I actually noticed at the end that Trey and the like sergeant or whoever at the beginning that's giving you your mission, they're voiced by the same person, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, especially because their two voices are very distinct. They're super different. And so it just shows how great the voice actors are at their jobs. I also like the voice acting because as I played the game, just because the base was so isolated and you can see your character, I felt super alone. But when I heard the voice acting and like I got to see the character portraits, I just felt less overwhelmingly alone. That helped kind of ease the tension a bit for me. I think the writing of the game has got to be my favorite part. It's what I really wanted to get to, and it's what really sucked me into the game, and that's why it's my favorite part of the game. You're faced with a lot of questions when you start the game, and then you also get to try and put the pieces together as you're exploring the base and as you're playing through. There's so many implications of what happened in the past and what is currently going on in the present. And also, as I learned more about the history in this game, it made me care more and more about the other characters, especially Trey. I mean, I restarted my runs for a reason. I didn't even finish through because I did not want to see him die at all. And it just goes to show how much the game made me grow attached to him.
I agree about the story. It was very interesting, and there was a lot that was there that I didn't get to see because I was so focused on finishing the game. But I think I would go back and I would try to find out everything that was going on, because I was really, really intrigued, and I also really didn't want Trey to die. Even though I didn't really know that much about him, I still didn't really want him to die. So I got really invested in keeping him alive, and I didn't go back and like see everything because it takes time away from you when you do. So, and I was stressed out about that.
Yeah, even when I had played through as much as I did, and I was unfortunately able to find out a lot of the details of the story at the expense of Trey. Even when I finished the game, I found that there's still a lot of things that can be left up to speculation or interpretation, because it felt like uncovering a conspiracy as you were playing, and I'm pretty sure that is what was happening.
I agree. Like at the end, it's a very open ending. Like you can, based on how much of the story you know, you can try to infer what happens, but you can't really know for sure.
Yeah, I think a big part of the gameplay, other than, of course, the time management and resource management, is actually just uncovering the story and trying to piece together what happened. Because it's not going to give it to you right off the bat. It's something that you have to work to find. Do you have any sort of favorite or least favorite part of the game?
My favorite part is probably the same as yours, the story. Even though I didn't really experience all of it, the parts that I did see were really, really interesting, and I really want to go back and see the rest of it. I think that that's probably my favorite part, other than like the music.
I think that the visuals honestly could have been one of my other favorite parts, but because of the lack of visual engagement, I actually consider it my least favorite, despite how beautifully constructed it is. Because it just gets old to look at. The fact that it got forgettable for me until it turned to nighttime was kind of disappointing to me. And I just really wish I could have seen, because I saw a lot of the story as I played, and I wish I could have actually seen it visually, you know? I can't really tell or say if there's a specific reason behind this. And because I can't, actually infer what the developers were trying to go for, it's not like I could easily stand behind that decision, because there's a lot of speculating that can be done for that on its own, but it's not like I know.
Yeah.
Would you recommend the game?
Yes, I would recommend this game to pretty much anyone that really, really likes stories. The story is very interesting, but you also have to remember that you're trying to keep someone alive and there's like a timer. So like if you get carried away really easily, it might be stressful for you. I still recommend playing it, but it might be a little bit stressful.
Yeah, for sure. I found the story to be super intriguing, and it was super fun to put it together. And I honestly think that the story and the gameplay worked great hand in hand, because the game really engages you to go ahead and find out what's happening. Those two elements combined, they lead to a really engrossing experience, because you, like I said, you have to piece everything together. And the game isn't just you trying to make sure that Trey lives. It's also you trying to figure out why you're both in this situation in the first place. And I think that's really cool. With all that said, I'd rate it an 8.5 out of 10 tokens.
I rated it a 7 out of 10 tokens.
And that will bring us to 7.75 tokens for Signal by Oddly Shaped Pixels. Awesome job. So as we said in the episode description, there's actually a very important announcement for this portion of the episode. And it's that I will be leaving the podcast. I'm sorry, but I no longer have the time nor the energy to work on both the podcast as well as my own main career path, which is actually my highest priority. So this episode is my final episode for the podcast. It's been a great time with my time being here. And well, thanks for letting me be on one last episode, Joycelyn.
Yeah, of course.
And thank you for also understanding my reasons to leave.
Of course.
And thank you to the listeners for helping to make this a worthwhile experience while it lasted.
There's also going to be a break in the episodes. It's not necessarily related to Nicole leaving. So the next episode should come out on September 3rd, and that's mostly because I'm moving. It's not really related to Nicole at all.
Someone's going across the country.
Yeah. But I mean, I really enjoyed doing this with you, though. It was fun.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks. I am gonna miss this, but I do know that in the long run, it is probably the best decision considering how much my career means to me. So yeah. I'm still glad to have worked on this nonetheless.
Of course. And you're always welcome back if you ever want to guest host.
Gotcha. Thank you for the offer.
Do you want to read the outro?
So one last time I'm doing this. Thank you guys for joining us on this episode of Indie House. Be sure to rate the episode and let us know your thoughts. We've got a Discord server called Indie House Official, which will be a great place to give your feedback and talk to us, our collaborators, or other listeners of the show. If you have any indie game suggestions, feel free to comment below or hit us up at indiehouse_pod on Twitter or Instagram using the hashtag IndieHouseGaming. Catch us next week on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. See y'all on the next level. Bye!